Thank you for joining me live from the grooming table. I am Amy Lee, certified professional groomer since 2003, but it is absolutely my pleasure to share with you the secrets of the pet grooming industry so you can provide the same level of quality care for your beloved pets as I provide to my client pets as a professional groomer. We share here. Oh yeah, we do. One of my goals on my YouTube channel and for this channel all those years ago was always to bring a new voice to the pet grooming industry. One that includes pet owners as valuable consumers and not just pet groomers. Having a place to learn proper dog grooming techniques and receive professional advice on tools, products, and where to get them, how to use them is essential. That's where I come in. That's why I created this YouTube channel for you and the pets you groom. Welcome to Go Groomer on YouTube. I am so happy to see you all. I can see you there. I feel like we're hanging out right here in my grooming salon. So thanks for joining me live from the grooming table. Tonight's topic is such a good one. Grooming rescue dogs. This topic is definitely very close to my heart. I want to say something. I want to front load a little bit of information real quick before we dive into all this lesson that I have prepared for you guys. It's a lot of information, but I want to help and I want to bring awareness and I want to support groomers who may feel a little alone and challenged when it comes to grooming with dogs that come from a rescue situation. But the word rescue dog kind of, some people say, well, does just rehoming a dog fall into that category? Well, it actually does. That's considered a rescue dog. But the home that they may have had before may have been a very adequate home. So tonight we're talking about mainly those dogs that didn't have the best chance. And now they do. They've been given another chance by being taken into somebody's home, and they're going to be treated like a member of the family, which is, something they're not used to. And it's a blessing. It's just an absolute blessing. And so are the rescue dogs. But I want to state that as a pet groomer, I'd say on average, especially in a small area, small town, 1 in every 4 dogs that I groom can be categorized as a rescue dog. Now that doesn't mean they all came from a puppy mill or a bad scenario, but what I'm saying is it may have been a rehomed situation. It could have been a stray that was found by our local humane society who found the home for the dog. These are all dogs that end up on my grooming salon. And, but then again, I also have encountered dogs that have had no socialization, that were rescued from bad situations and puppy mills. And they just, they may be 2, 3, 6 years old, and they don't know anything about what we do as humans. It's just so foreign to them, let alone grooming. So when one of those dogs lands on your table, it can be, you got to be ready for it. And I don't mean like ready for a fight. Not at all ready for a fight. I mean mentally prepared, having a game plan, and that's what I'm going to help you with tonight. I'm so excited to dive into this information. So happily, I can announce that really, as a pet groomer from what comes into my salon and all these years that I've been grooming, over 20 years, I'd say 1 in every 4 dogs that I groom and that become my clients were considered a rescue dog. But they weren't all rescued from terrible situations, thank God. Some of them were, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So these incredible dogs, rescue dogs, they come with a past. All dogs come with a past. Some have never seen a brush. Others may fear the sound of clippers, and many just need a fresh start. And that's where it's at. It's just that they're not fearful. They should be, and you're like, why isn't this dog fearful? He's never been exposed to anything. Some dogs just fall right in with us humans, and it's almost like bliss. But other dogs need time, and they need us to work with them, and they need to learn to trust and bond And we owe it to them to give them that. You can't expect it. But as groomers, they land on our tables too. So what do you do? How do you deal with that? And that's the information that I want to share tonight from my experience. Working with them definitely is going to help build trust, confidence, and this is the goal as a groomer when we get rescue dogs into our salons, and especially if we know it's quite possibly the first time for them, we need to build trust or rebuild. Maybe they had a human that they trusted at some point, but they certainly don't know me, and they don't know my grooming salon. So we got to boost their confidence. We got to set them on the path to live their happiest lives. And a lot of that has to do with grooming too, because we could put a dog into, not purposefully, but we could send them into a fearful situation just over being brushed, just from not handling properly that first grooming appointment for them. Maybe it's 3 grooming appointments that need to happen. So don't be too afraid of that if that's the case. In this video, I'm sharing the priceless lessons that I've learned straight from the rescue dogs that I had the honor to groom. Yes, I learned lessons from them. I'm going to share it with you. These incredible dogs have taught me more than I could ever have imagined. You don't expect it. Tonight, I'm passing those lessons on to you, my friends. So thank you for being here tonight. You may be a beginner groomer. You may groom your own dog at home. You may be looking to rescue a dog from a situation that is terrible. And you're like, well, I can clearly see that grooming is one of the first things that this dog needs to live a happy, healthy life, because that's been neglected. So you're going to want to listen up. You're going to want to pay attention. We're in this together tonight. I'm going to help you. So I'll also guide you on how to schedule these specialized grooming sessions and share expert tips on preparing the dog for a successful experience before they even walk through your door, before you even groom them. So I've packed a lot of information in here tonight for you. Get ready for some eye-opening takeaways that just might change the way you see dog grooming forever. Yeah, let's dive into it. So I have a couple images I'm going to share with you as I start discussing our lesson tonight and what I want to share with you. The dog I'm going to show you in particular is a dog that I groomed probably about 14 years ago. It was a miniature poodle. I called him Little Red. They didn't even have a name for him. They just brought him. So I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'm going to start talking to you guys about this experience with grooming rescue dogs. This dog is Little Red. Unfortunately, he needed to be rescued. He was living in a barn, and they thought that was okay. So let me start by saying that you may not be ready to groom rescue dogs if you're a beginner groomer, or if you've been grooming for a while. You may not be ready to say, I don't know what I'm going to get into, and I'm not willing to do that. And that realization will be very motivating, and it's a motivating factor to prepare yourself to work with rescue dogs. So having that apprehension, pay attention to it and start learning. That's the whole idea. Because when you're ready to work with rescue dogs, you'll know it, and your confidence will let you know. So let me explain a little bit of what I'm trying to say here. Probably confusing you guys. Grooming rescue dogs requires a unique set of skills. It requires patience. It requires emotional resilience that not everybody may be fully prepared for at first. They may think they are, but then you get into the thick of it, and it could be creating a fear period for you as a groomer, okay? Recognizing this fact that maybe you're not ready to groom rescue dogs. Recognizing that isn't a sign of failure, so get that out of your mind. It's an important step forward for growth. So recognizing that you may be apprehensive to take on those fully matted, severely matted dogs is a good thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is Little Red. I'm going to take him off the screen a little bit. That was a crazy grooming situation. It turned out to be a successful one, and actually, he was wonderful. He really was. But you can clearly see that he was not groomed hardly at all, if ever, I would have to say. So you not only have to work with a dog who is unfamiliar with grooming when you're working with a rescue dog, but you'll have to make quick executive decisions with confidence when you're working with a rescue dog. Not just confidence to work with a dog, but to be able to select appropriate tools, handling techniques, and even veto certain aspects of the groom. That's a huge factor. You're thinking, what do you mean by veto? I'm going to explain it to you. Sometimes you have to say, I'm not bathing him today. The most important thing today is to get this matted pelt of a coat off of him. And if that's all he can endure, then that's all he's going to have to endure today. We're going to talk about that a little further, okay? Rescue dogs often come with a past, and there could be trauma there. I mean, often there is some type of trauma. There could be fear or definitely severe coat neglect, like we saw there with Little Red, making it more challenged to groom them, as well as the fact that they're not really socialized. Often they're not properly socialized, because especially when we're talking about dogs that were bred just for breeding, not, just breed them, get them out in 6 weeks, get them puppies out. I mean, they're just like kicking them out the door. So there's some bad situations. The health situation for a puppy and mother and father dog in that scenario is not good. Their health needs are not met often. Grooming rescue dogs, they may obviously react unpredictable because we don't know what to expect from them. Nobody does. Say unpredictable with clippers, with brushes, or even just unpredictable with the human touch, with how we have to touch them and move them and work with them with our hands. They may not even be comfortable with that. Some may have behavioral desensitization that needs to happen, and we don't know it until they're on the table. So while others need special handling techniques to help keep them calm and safe, you never know what you're going to have to do until you get into the moment with a rescue dog. By acknowledging that you may not be ready, you open the door to learning and training and preparing yourself to groom rescue dogs. And it is a wonderful thing to accomplish that and know that you had everything to do with helping this dog understand grooming while you were helping them, relieving them from terrible skin and coat conditions. So whether it's improving your handling skills that you may need to work on before you're ready, or learning stress-free grooming techniques, and there's a lot of help for that out there, even online, some free. Just maybe understanding canine body language better. These are things that I would definitely say that you need to focus on if you're gonna work with some rescue dogs as a professional groomer. And I do think you need to be a professional groomer to work with rescue dogs. I think we're more prepared in so many ways, especially in just the skill level and the knowledge. Because they're tough grooms. I got to tell you, they're really tough grooms. And you've got to also be concerned about the dog at all times. So let me show you another picture while I talk some more. This is another little round of things with Little Red. Him in particular, as I got to work with him, and some of you know this story because you've been with me for so long. I've shared some things about Little Red in the past. As you can see here on the left, how his whole leg is flat from his, well, it would be his hock bone to his toes is flat, because that bone was broken when he came to me, and they didn't even tell me that. So I noticed he was walking weird, but you saw how heavily matted he was, right? I thought that's why he was walking weird. It wasn't. It was because, yes, I did call the authorities, if you're wondering. Before you get upset, I absolutely did. They do not report back to me what they do, so I'm not sure what the fate of Little Red was, but I begged them to leave him with me. He was amazing, and he attached himself to me right away. And I just think it was just such a sad situation to watch him have to leave with them when they came back. But I couldn't get them to leave him with me. I clearly could tell that he wasn't loved. So I don't know the story for him, but all of these things really work hard. You know, they work on us as groomers. We need self-awareness. That becomes, you know, all about what we can be prepared for, and self-awareness for our own selves. We need to be very self-aware when we work with rescue dogs. We need to be in a good headspace when we work with rescue dogs, because that awareness is the driving force, you know, for us to even educate ourselves further, to practice more patience. It's so important, and ultimately become a skilled, compassionate groomer who truly can make a difference in a rescue dog's life. You have to possess certain characteristics and traits and be able to control them for the dog, and actually really truly mean it, because the dog will know if you don't. They do know, especially if they're a little bit nervous or not sure if they trust you because they don't know you. So when I was a beginner groomer, I learned quickly that grooming rescue dogs was something that required me to learn more about dogs in general. I did, and in my area there is a lot of dogs that are neglected, unfortunately, and it's accepted. Not by me, not by a lot of other people, but it is accepted. They don't do anything about it. And it's very hard to watch. But as a groomer, and especially in the beginning, you feel like you have to take every dog in, right, guys? You know, bring it in. You know what I'm talking about. You feel like you're failing clients, your community, and the pets if you don't successfully groom all the dogs that people ask you to groom. You know, because your schedule's not full yet. You're a beginner, so you're working on that. You're working on getting a full schedule, but it's not there yet. So you actually don't refuse anything, but I'm going to tell you, you should. You know, I've been telling you that for years, and I've explained to you what questions to ask people that are going to board on as new clients. I've explained to you guys to actually have those meet and greets and charge for it to see if it's a fit for you to work with a new dog to come on your schedule. And I really do suggest you guys always do that. That's what's going to set you up and keep you in a healthy headspace as a groomer, because when something bad happens in the grooming salon because you put yourself at risk working with dogs that were kind of unworkable, not your fault, not their fault, it's hard to let it go. And it's going to really shoot down on your confidence too, because you thought, wow, I really thought I could do this, and then this happened, you know, or he ran out, you know, when the owner came and they can't find him. He ran away from my salon. When the owner opened the door, he left. I mean, just stuff happens, and you're gonna, you know, you can't blame yourself, so it's really hard. But when I started grooming and started getting a lot of little reds, and I did get a lot of them, and I was a beginner, so I hadn't experienced all these really hard grooms yet, just grooms that I could handle. I wanted to understand what they may have lacked in their life, like rescue dogs. I wanted to understand more about it so I could prepare myself. What had they lacked in their life up to this point that could be making a grooming session traumatic for them? So putting yourself in the dog's shoes is very important. They're not humans. You have to try to understand things how dogs understand things. Rescue dogs often come from neglectful, abusive, or unstable backgrounds, which means that they may have lacked critical experiences that make grooming feel safe and familiar. So in other words, it's a scary thing for them. You know that. Here are some key factors that could make a grooming session traumatic for them, and I advise you to always learn something from the rescue dogs that you groom. Always. Always say, wow, you know, evaluate, sit back, take a breath when it's over, and think about the whole session. There's always something to learn that maybe you could have done differently to have prevented them from feeling the way they did or whatever. But there's no doubt that lack of early socialization or lack of socialization, period, is a factor. Many rescue dogs, especially those from puppy mills, from hoarding situations or stray backgrounds, they may have had little to no positive human interaction. positive human interaction during the early development stages. That can be really hard to overcome with a dog. Always assume this is the case. Always assume this is the case with every rescue dog that you work with. Assume that they do not have proper socialization and trust when it comes to humans. Because you're not just a human, you're going to be working with them and doing things with them that has never been done before. So it's very hard. And if you are not ready to groom rescue dogs, then without a doubt, don't feel bad about not doing it. It's fine to say no. I don't think that's for me. And it's not like you're saying you don't care about the dogs. You do care about the dogs. But you want it to be successful, and you certainly don't want it to have bad takeaways from it, even if you do get through the groom. Your compassion and understanding is much needed in the moment with the dog, with rescue dogs. And all of us groomers have compassion. But it takes more than that to get that job done. Like Little Red. You want to look at Little Red again? Let's put him up here. Little cutie patootie. He should have been mine. I should have never let him go. Grooming requires close contact with dogs, so we're talking about rescue dogs here, right guys? Some dogs aren't really ever touched. They're just, their food and their water are changed, and they're really not socialized or handled or petted or cared for or shown affection or shown kindness. Some of them aren't, and that could be what lands on your table. It's so sad. So they're not all used to close contact, which means handling of sensitive areas, or just handling them, period. And trust that is something that's not going to be there. It can feel overwhelming to a dog that has never been properly socialized just to be touched by someone they don't know. So imagine trying to take this terrible matted coat off of them. I quickly learned that scheduling more time with a rescue dog is always necessary. And I can't stress that enough, guys. Let me say that one more time. Please schedule much more time with a rescue dog, especially if it's the first time you're going to work with them, because it is necessary and you're going to need that time. So always schedule more time. And when I say more time, I'm talking at least an hour, at least. Some of that time you're going to be just getting to know the dog, seriously. So I learned that early on. Always schedule extra time with a rescue dog or a dog that seems to have been matted, in a matted condition, and the new owner doesn't really know much about the past owners, but they do know the dog's in desperate need of grooming. They'll say, hey, things are going well with us. He's very good with us, but I can't speak for how he'll be with a stranger. These are all good things to know before we get started. But those dogs have taught me that they can bring fear to the grooming table, and I absolutely have to respect their feelings and learn to read them in order to consider picking up any tool. That is one thing that I've learned as well with working with rescue dogs, is I have to learn to read them and their feelings, and I have to respect and acknowledge their feelings. They have to know they're being heard in order for them to possibly feel safe before I would pick up a tool. Take the time and opportunity to share close space with every rescue dog, observing their comfort level with your presence. Take that opportunity, guys. Take the time before you start grooming. Get them on the table. Let's get them comfortable being on the table, and let them learn that you're in their space and you're a safe human. You have to teach them this. Remain calm, quiet. That's obviously a given. It's a given with any dog that you work with, guys. We know this. Remain calm and quiet to build the trust through this getting to know each other time that you're sharing. It's really important to just be in their space and just be. If you have confidence in gaining their trust, meaning if you believe you can do it, they will feel that. But remember, they're only considering you as a safe person in their space at that moment. Trust takes time and consistency. So they're only considering that you're safe. They're not convinced of it. That means we have to continue with being confident, leading them with confidence, meaning that they can feel your confidence and you're all they got in the moment. And a lot of that can be filtered right down onto the dog, and it can help their confidence to get through this yucky, matted groom. Look at this. Oh my gosh. I hate these pictures. My assistant took them that was working with me, and I'm very glad that she did that, but I hate looking at them. I just can't. I remember that day. I remember grooms like this, guys. It's like imprinting. It'll imprint on you forever. I'm very happy that we got through it. I'm not happy for his outcome, having to go back home with those people. So moving on, rescue dogs usually have no prior grooming experience. So this is something you need to remember when you're working with rescue dogs. You don't know if they have prior grooming experience. Dogs who have never been brushed, bathed, clipped, or had their nails trimmed may find these sensations very foreign and very stressful, and understandably so. So that's something else you got to keep in mind, guys. There have been times that I had to decide what is most important to expose this dog to during this grooming session. So let's take Little Red when he came in here on the left. This is what I started with on the left, all right? So there's been many times that I had to decide what is most important to expose this dog to during this grooming session, and what can I leave out of this grooming session to minimize the stress for him, for Little Red. So that's something else you have to be able to do, and you have to assess. This grooming session is possibly the first time this dog has ever been up close and personal with a human at all, or even the first time this dog's been indoors. And I do believe that for Red, that this was the first time he was ever indoors. This was crazy. But these are important things to realize and to think that this is a possibility. This little guy I'm working with, this could be the first time he's ever really been this up close and handled with a human, let alone maybe his first time even being inside. That's a lot to take in itself. But it's very important to realize these things and to know that might be what they're dealing with. And you want to help the dog by meeting their grooming needs, but you also don't want to create a fear period for this dog surrounding grooming as a whole. So that's a delicate dance, right, friends? It's a delicate dance. These are some of the things that I'm just trying to throw in your lap to say, hey, if you are new to grooming, you may not be ready for this. And guess what? I got your back. You shouldn't have to be. And you shouldn't feel bad if you're not. You don't have to always groom dogs that are highly neglected. Even if it's once in a while, you don't have to do it if you don't feel you can do all the above. And confidence is one of the big things you have to bring to the table with rescue dogs. So sometimes not trimming the nails today, when I get Red in, I'm like, well, if I don't trim his nails, or maybe I may skip the bathing and drying process today, that could be the right call for him. Meaning, hey, I'm getting through this terribly matted coat. I'm making progress. That's the most important thing that really needs to happen today, is to get this matted pelted coat off of him. It's restricting his movement. It's painful. It pulls on his skin. So if I have to forego trimming the nails, unless I will always attempt, give it a nice, relaxing go at it. If he's going to let me, I'm going to do it. But if I'm pushing him over the edge, I'm not going to do it. And that goes for throwing him in the bath. He may not be used to water. Blow drying him, certainly not used to a blow dryer. So sometimes foregoing that stuff is the right call to make, guys, okay? So don't feel I have to do the full groom or I failed. I'm a professional. They wanted this dog fully groomed. Well, guess what? It is what it is, and you're going to do what's right for that dog. And that's not putting him through something that's going to cause him to hate being groomed, because he never got a chance to accept it in small doses. So in the case with Little Red, freeing him from his matted coat may be the only thing that I focus on that day. Okay? If things go well, I'll continue. I'll trim his nails. I'll consider bathing him. I have to be in tune with what the trust level is and how he's feeling. And I have to watch how he's feeling the whole time, because he's going to tell me how he's feeling. And that's important to do that with rescue dogs. If you can get through, with this dog, and that means that by the end of this grooming session, on a good note for him, maybe you'll consider a bath and a blow dry and a nail trim for a different session in the near future. This is key to not overwhelming the dog, and it gives you an area to work from in the next grooming session without breaking trust and creating fear for the dog surrounding grooming. So sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to say, I'm going to get this pelt off of him. I'm going to do a little light scissoring to touch things up, and I'm going to ask for him back in 2 days. And I'm going to trim his nails because I've already established some trust with him. So if I try to push too much in one session, I could ruin it, and he could lose his mind and make up his mind that grooming is something he's never going to accept. So that's what we don't want as groomers. We don't want to be the one to be involved in that. We want to make the right decision, regardless of whether the pet owner says, oh, yeah, but I really wanted him bathed today and his nails trimmed. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, you don't even understand what it's like working with a dog like this, and I'm not going to break him like a horse. I'm not going to do it. So it's okay to say, good job, Little Red. We got all that matted coat off of you. I was able to scissor and trim out your paw pads a little. I know you got to be feeling better. And we're going to call it good today, buddy. Okay? I'm going to talk to Mom. I'm going to try to get you back in here in a couple days. And then I'm going to treat you like a king again with a nice spa bath, some warm water. But I'm going to take my time. And what else am I going to do? Guys, I'm going to schedule more time with him just for that sanitary and bath and blow dry than I normally would, because I'm still working with him, and I still know that we may have to stop, keep him on the grooming table, and have some calm, quiet moments of resetting. And it's a given with rescue dogs that you will have to do that. Not all of them. In fact, Red was a trooper, I will say that. Rescue dogs often fear the sound of vibration of clippers. We know that. The feel of water could be very foreign to them. They may have never had a bath. Having water run over their body maybe. So that's why it may be too much asking them to accept clipper work and a bath and a blow dry in one day. It may be too much to ask of them. We could be ruining it for them. So, some of them really aren't even used to being on a leash or being on a grooming lead or in a grooming harness. They're like, I'm feeling restricted here, and they get a little defensive, and their behavior is going to reflect that, simply because they've never experienced it before. So these are things that you have to assume going into it. This dog probably has never had all these things, because you don't know, and nobody knows the backstory on this dog, especially if it was rescued from a puppy mill or surrendered or found astray running in a field, which is really where the breeders turn loose the dogs. They don't want to breed anymore. They just turn them loose, and now they're strays. So you should just think that as a groomer working with a rescue dog that's in a condition like Red here, and assume all these things are the way it is for him, so that you can approach it that way. Remain closely in tune with every dog that you groom, but especially, this is imperative for rescue dogs. I always tell you guys that. Always watch the dog's behavior. Always watch the signals and the cues that the dogs are giving us when we're working with them. And take the time to reset the dog, build a little confidence boost. If we keep letting them give the cues to the point where they're in a bad headspace, then all you're doing is forcing to work with them, and they know that. And it doesn't feel good to them mentally. So you want compliancy. That's what we aim for. Groomers aren't just people that are like, we know how to give dogs haircuts and we have all the tools to do it, and by golly, that dog, we're going to hog tie him and he's going to get the haircut today. We don't do that. Those days are over when people used to do that because they were made to feel like they failed if they couldn't do it. That's too late. We know our value as groomers now, don't we? We do. Yes, I see all of you. You guys are everywhere. I have you all in these screens. I see you. We know our value. So don't let anybody take that from you. If the dog is severely matted, you know freeing him of his painful mats is the most important thing today. Okay, not quite the bath, the nails, we're going to do this today. So you know you don't have to wonder how he will feel about being exposed to water. So it's nice when you're going through a session like this with Little Red, and you know this is going to be time consuming just to get the matted pelt off of him. You need to be able to, on the fly, say, already taken the bath out of the scenario. So you can take it off your plate. Because when you're working with him and it is stressful and you know, God, this is stressful. I know he's stressing out. I can only imagine how he's going to stress in the tub. And oh God, how's he going to feel about a blow dryer? And then more brushing and clipper work. You need to take that off the table. Make the executive decision. Say, no worries, Red. We're getting you through this. We're going to take all this matted hair off of you today. And we're going to let that end as a successful session, but I'm going to try to get you back in a couple days, honey, and I'm going to bathe you. But we need that break in between. They need that mental break. So make sure you prepare for it as you're working and remind yourself that I'm not going to be bathing him today. That takes the stress of that off of you too. Does that make sense? Meaning I'm just praying that he gets through this clip down, right? But I'm a little worried about getting him in the tub. You don't have to worry anymore because you already made the executive order. You said I'm not going to get him in the tub today because I'm not going to push him over the cliff. That takes a lot of pressure off of you too, my friend. So don't be afraid to do it. Absolutely not. That way you can keep your confidence and your good positive vibes going just to get this matted fur off of Little Red. So because you made the decision of what's best for this dog, you do not have to add more stress into the grooming session for this day. Your plan is taking all that coat off with a 7-blade or a 10-blade, and then there's nothing to brush. There really is. So we don't have to worry about brushing Red today and introducing him to that today. There's nothing to brush. Knowing that you only have to get through accepting clipper work and a small amount of scissor work is your goal for this grooming session. This gives you a clear view of focus and it removes all the other aspects of the groom so that you can gather the best tools and the methods to accomplish only removing the matted coat. That's your focus, and you can hyper focus at this point. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not putting them through the full deal today. And it's an easy one to explain too. Say, because I care. I care. That's my reason. I care about him. And I don't want to ruin it for him. And so in which case, I'm protecting you, the pet owner, from having to deal with a dog of a lifetime if nobody can groom him. Because I ruined him back in 2010 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be part of that. There's a great chance that after getting through removing the coat with the clipper work that you do notice that you have established some trust between you and Little Red, right? And because of that, you may consider then, sure, I think we can bathe. I think he can do it. Okay, but if you're feeling and he's really struggling and you're like, I'm taking this mentally, I'm already taking this off plate. I'm not putting him in the tub today. I'm not going to do that to him. It's going to make you feel better and give you the fuel you need to finish that there matted groom without having to do all the other aspects of grooming. Just understand that it's okay to call it good for this session if you only make it through the clipper work and light scissor work. It's okay to call it good. Jean, are you listening? I know you have a doodle that you've been struggling with. We talked about it in our members live. It's okay to call it good and make that decision for the dog and make that decision for yourself too. You may feel the dog is not ready to tackle more, and trust me guys, your intuition is probably pretty good. You can make that determination and say, I was right. I don't want to push him over the edge. So what you will do then is schedule the remaining grooming requirements for a second session in just a few days to come. Keep it close. Try to do it within that week, but don't give them too much too fast. And especially if you've had some success with him, he let you do all this, and you can tell he's scared, he's frightened, he's so tense. If a dog is so tense, that's an indication that, that they are very uncomfortable. Meaning scared, nervous. So that takes a lot out of a dog to be tense and scared. For a groom like Little Red there, just getting that matted nastiness off him, trimming paw pads, doing a little scissor work was an hour and a half worth of work. So that's a lot for a dog that doesn't know what grooming is all about. So I'm trying to help you guys even make the decision if you're ready to tackle it. And if you're not, I'm trying to tell you, you have my support, and you should have the support of everybody, the pet parents, other pet professionals, to say, no, it's not that I'm not experienced, it's that I'm not ready. I'm not ready to navigate that ship for a dog that has no idea. And that's okay. Rescue dogs may have had negative past experiences with grooming, and you don't know that. Some rescue dogs may have been handled rough, restrained too tightly, or even injured during previous grooming attempts. You don't know what you're dealing with when a rescue dog is on your table. So always assume that these things are the case. That's what I'm trying to prepare you for today. To say, always assume that. Even if the dog comes in and he comes up and he lays his sweet little head right in your lap, and you think, wow, he is a very loving, trusting dog. Until you get him on a grooming table and you have some tools in your hand that he's never seen before, he could turn into a completely different dog. I've seen that. I've seen it happen. So don't even give false hope to the pet parent or foster parent bringing him in. Well, look how sweet he is. I think we're going to do just fine. Prepare them. Say, this is a good start. This is great. But I've been there before, and once we get on the grooming table and he's exposed to some tools and stuff that none of us know if he's been desensitized to yet, it could go a whole different way. Just prepare them for that, because you're acting like a professional by doing that. Well, you're not acting like it. You are a professional by taking that stand and by educating them and bringing them in that lens a little bit and say, yeah, I know you don't know what happens in here, but I do. And I've seen it all. So I'm trying to let you know that this is a good sign that he trusts me right now, but I'm not sure that it's going to stay this way as we move forward with the groom today. So say, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to take breaks. I already scheduled extra time with him. So I think we've lined up a window of success here. Let's hope we can get it done. And, you do the best you can with what the dog is comfortable with. If you feel you're pushing them too far, you say, once we get this pelt off of him, we're done for today. And I'm going to want him back in 2 days, no later, that we can finish then. But ending this session on a good note and starting the next one on a good note. That's important. I've seen dogs that never accept grooming, and I know they've been through some pretty tragic stuff. Never accept it for their whole life. They will not accept it. It's so bad. And I've ended up saying I can't work with them anymore. It stresses me out too much because I know I'm being delicate, I'm being gentle, I'm being professional. I know I'm not hurting him. I know what I'm doing, and I cannot reach this dog. We've been working together for 5 years. I can't reach him, and he's just a hazard to himself, and something bad's going to happen, and I'm not going to let that be on my watch. I'm not. So I've said, hey, I have to decline further service for you because I'm not willing to go that far. I'm not willing to have that happen to me. We're usually by ourselves, right, guys? It's our business. It's us. It's all on us. And, a bad incident can not only tear you down mentally, but it can ruin your reputation. And here's the thing. You have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have a great setup with top quality tools, products, and equipment. but there was a mishap, and it's you may not be able to get over it. That's the truth. So you got to look out for yourself a little bit, okay? Because you don't know what this dog may or may not have experienced prior to introducing them slowly into the grooming session with you. You don't know. You have to assume that they have no idea what a clipper is and that they have never been on a grooming table. You have to assume these things, and probably never even been on a leash. That's often the case. This is all uncharted territory, and you should always assume that to be true when you're working with a rescue dog, because you don't know. Nobody knows. So they have to learn the right way now with you. And I mean, that's a great opportunity to be able to be that one to do that with a dog. And it is amazing. But you have to always assume that they have no clue of any of this, and let alone socialization. Sometimes that's not even there. So make your plan ahead of time on how you expect to introduce them to these things, to the different steps of the groom and what you're going to do, in a way that you feel safe and secure. You're going to keep them safe and secure. So make a plan ahead of time. What's your game plan? So when it's go time, you can really focus on what you're doing and how the dog is feeling. You need to constantly be paying attention to those things. How's it going? Focus on what I'm doing. How's he feeling? Here's what I'm doing. How's he feeling? You need to keep that really as top priority, because keeping him from going into a psychological frenzy is very important, because that could be something you'll never be able to reach him again. Nobody may never, if you let him make his mind up, it can be hard to reverse. So these are things to be aware of when you're working with rescue dogs, that you always assume the worst. Even if it seems to be going great, still don't assume that this dog wasn't abused, that he wasn't hit by a car. Well, you don't know why does he limp? He could have been hit by a car. What's that mean? He's got some soreness then for the rest of his life. He can't tell you that. So assume that there are injuries. Past injuries. Assume all these things so that you know how to handle them and what to expect from them if they were in these conditions. If he had been hit by a car, you don't know if he did or not. And he has an injury that he can't tell you, but he's got pain in his hips, but you can't visibly tell, but it's there. So just assume that they all have that, and then you'll know how to handle them. When I say handle them, I mean how to maneuver them as if they have an injury. And then you'll be extra careful to avoid picking a leg up, but his leg don't move that way anymore. You didn't know that. And he screams in pain, and he's not going to forget that. Expose them to tools and equipment sounds before attempting to use them. So turn your clipper on, maybe run it down away from their face, down, let them feel the vibration, just talk real nice and calm. It's kind of the same thing as, when I did that video, that live stream, it's still on my channel, about why your dog hates grooming. It was all about fearfulness, is what it was all about, and how to avoid that. So I did link that video in the description below. You guys can watch it later if you never saw it. That is if you want to start understanding a little more about dogs' body language and what it means, you should watch that live stream. You may have to use a clipper with low vibration around the face if they show signs of fear when you're clipping. You may already say, when I get to the face, I'm going to use my 5-in-1. I'm going to turn it on low speed. It's a quieter, lower vibration clipper. Yeah, it's not as powerful as my Wall KM10, but the face, I can handle that. We'll get through it. So just automatically know when it gets to that, that's what I'm going to do to just try to tone things down for this dog and not let him go into a bad state of mind by preventing things, by making these choices. Be willing to make adjustments to this groom, to any groom, when it comes to any dog, but definitely rescue dogs. Be willing to make adjustments to the groom and know what those options are before you even begin the grooming session. So before I begin the grooming session, I have a couple blades laid out. I'm like, well, I usually use a 7-blade to go through, you know, matted coats like we were seeing here with Little Red. But just in case I may need that 10 blade, I'm going to have it right here. So I'm preparing myself, right? Same with any tools, brushes, or other clippers. You know, you have your wall cam 10, you might be like, I want to make sure that I have that Kenchi flash. I may need to go for that when it comes time to trim around the eyes or his face. He may not be having anything, so I may be needing to use that. You know, just be prepared. Rescue dogs may have experienced improper dematting. You know, someone here, come here, I'm going to take care of this. So absolutely, they may have experienced this, or they may have experienced trying to be clipped with dull blades from, you know, their owner, giving them that once a year shave down with I don't know what clipper they would use, but I'd hate to find out. So they may be using dull blades, and that may pull in the hair. That can be painful for a dog, and it can make them think that grooming hurts. So here they are on your grooming table, and that's the assumption they already have. When she has that thing in her hand and it makes that noise and vibration thing, that thing, it pulls my hair. That's because that's what happened the last time he was groomed. So that's what he thinks is going to happen this time. So you have to work them through that. Sometimes just it's the inappropriate use of grooming tools, brushes, dematting rakes, blades, grooming scissors, clippers, clipper blades. They could have been groomed by somebody who wasn't a groomer and thought they could handle it, and they improperly used these tools on the dog, and it caused some pain for the dog, and he's now thinking that's what you're going to do. So assume that's what they're thinking, so that you can pay attention and you can ease their mind. Forcing a scared dog through a grooming process can create a long-lasting fear, and there are often times with rescue dogs that they are just forced to endure it. And it's not fun to watch, it's not pleasant for the dog, and it can absolutely ruin grooming for them, possibly for the rest of their life, that they're never going to be okay with it. You have no idea if the dog has had any of these bad experiences, guys. So just assume maybe that they have. Just go into it thinking that they have. If the dog is matted, don't worry about dematting for this groom. We already know they're not used to brushes, clippers, baths, blow dryers, scissors. Let's not try to demat them, okay? No. We're going to shave that stuff off with a 7 blade because it's quick and easy and humane, and it's going to feel good. As you're doing it, it's giving relief to the dog instead of dematting. Is a little tugging on the hair and stuff. And yes, dematting can be done very humanely, but you can't put a rescue dog through that's severely matted. You can't. We're going to start over. We're going to start over with a 7 blade, and we're going to just take it off and start over. It's the humane choice for the dog. If they've been physically abused in the past, which we don't know, any sudden movements or firm handling is going to make them feel threatened and change their mind about the groom. So always assume that they have been handled improperly, or that they have had some rough handling in the past, so that you can keep that on the front burner in your mind, that I don't want him to think that's what I'm doing, so I'm prove it differently right now. It is common for rescue dogs to have sensory sensitivities, which means like dogs who've lived in quiet, isolated environments, like out on the back 40, out by the wood line in a shed. Some dogs have lived there. Some rescue dogs have. Backyard breeders, puppy mills, you all know what I'm talking about. May find the sounds of dryers, clippers, or even running water overwhelming. If they have what's called sensory sensitivities. They don't know what this stuff is, you know, and it can overstimulate them and cause them to be afraid. So assume that they have that, right? Go into it assuming that. It's a good thing to do. Let's see, what else did I want to mention here about our rescue dogs? Predisposed conditions, that is another thing. Dogs with arthritis, hip dysplasia, previous injuries, we don't know. We don't know if they have arthritis or hip dysplasia. Sometimes you can tell when walk when they come in, and pay attention to how they walk when they come in to see if, does it look like they suffer from any arthritis? Does it look like they're having any hip or joint problems? Or does it look like, do I see any injuries? Is he limping? It's good to know these things because you want to be extra careful when it comes to working with the feet, the hips, or wherever you think there could be an injury. Evaluate each dog before beginning the groom. That's important. Evaluate how they walk across the floor. It's part of the evaluation. Take all these mental notes to set your grooming session up for success. Do they struggle to stand? Are they unstable on their feet? That's, make mental notes so you know what you're starting from, what you need to do, what you need to pay attention to, and what you're dealing with. You can work with these conditions, but it's important to determine them first so that you're mindful of them throughout the entire grooming process. Here's something else too, guys. This is very common. Many rescue dogs have a fear of confinement or restraints. Why is that? So our grooming salons are kind of confined. They're small. We use leashes, tub leashes, grooming leads on the table to keep them safe and secure. They may have a fear of that. Some rescue dogs, especially those from shelters or abused homes, may associate being confined or restrained with a negative experience. If they were in a shelter for a long time, nobody was adopting them, they feel like they're abandoned and confined in there, right? It's not that, we're like, well, thank God they're safe. Yes, but to them, it could be an issue for them. So these issues could resurface when they enter your grooming salon. So I want you to always think about these kind of things. This is one of the reasons it is very important to spend as much time as it takes to build trust before beginning the grooming session with a rescue dog. So you can evaluate all these things. So you can see where this dog is mentally, where it's like you're an attorney building a case. You want as much information as possible to make your assessment, right? Being placed in a grooming tub, exposed to a loud dryer or a grooming loop, that could trigger panic for a dog that has confinement issues or restraining issues. They could be reactive about it. They could even try to escape. That's for sure. By taking the time to build trust and work at the dog's pace, groomers can help rescue dogs overcome their fears and turn grooming into a positive, stress-free experience. That's our goal. That's our goal. You should never attempt these special grooming sessions unless you are completely confident in both your mental and physical ability to handle unpredictable situations while staying calm and focused. That's important. If you're not ready for that, then you're not ready to work with rescue dogs because you don't know what you're going to get and you don't know how it's going to go even midway through. So you don't have to. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have to always take on rescue dogs if you don't feel you're mentally and physically ready for it. We already know that some rescue dogs often come with emotional baggage and physical challenges. That can make the grooming experience much more complicated than any routine pet trim, guys. Many have fear-based reactions due to past neglect, abuse, or lack of grooming experience. So we're dealing with a lot of things here for these rescue dogs. Let's take a look at my boy here again. This is a little red. God, love him. Some may panic at the sound of clippers, flinch at the touch of a brush, all of a sudden things are going good. You pick up a brush and gently brush and they freak out because they probably have felt something bad from a brush before, who knows? Or even display defensive behaviors like growling, snapping, and all those things. It doesn't mean they're aggressive, it means they're fearful. They don't understand. So just be mentally prepared to handle stress, adapt to the dog's emotional state, make decisions in real time without frustration or hesitation, meaning be confident, guys, and have a plan mentally. Be prepared mentally for, well, if this goes bad, then this is how I'm going to handle it, or this is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to call it off for the day, or whatever. Have the plan. Losing your patience or second guessing your approach can escalate the dog's anxiety as well, making the grooming process harder, or it could even fail. So having a plan sets you and the dog up for success as much as you can, guys. Pre-planned in your head, write it down on paper, whatever you want to do. Physically, you need to be ready for unexpected movements as well. Physically, you got to be expected to catch the dog. No jumping off the table, no jumping out of the tub, whatever. You have to be prepared for that with rescue dogs. So is that something you can handle? If not, say, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I'm not going to groom rescue dogs. There's plenty of groomers that do and that are very well prepared and set up for it. So I'm just trying to make sure you guys understand you don't have to groom rescue dogs. But if you do, these are the things I want you to know. Having proper hand-eye coordination, a firm yet gentle hold, the ability to position yourself safely ensures you a minimum risk to both you and the dog. You're quick, good hand-eye coordination. You're able to handle a dog. When I say handle, it's with your hands, how you want to position them safely while you have tools in your hand. Sometimes that other hand is really helpful when you're grooming a rescue dog, because your other hand is always aiding the grooming process. More so with our pet trims, it's more or less guiding the grooming process and aiding in the process. But with rescue dogs, it's a must. Our other hand's always, helping the dog stay safe. So why is mastering your grooming tools essential if you're going to groom rescue dogs? When I say that, I mean you need to be very good with your tools. It is very important if you're going to groom rescue dogs. Beyond mental and physical readiness to work with rescue dogs, a deep understanding of the grooming tools that you're going to be using is crucial when working with rescue dogs. So there is a little bit of a skill level that you should be at until you attempt to do this, to keep you on a good trajectory towards, becoming a better groomer, as well as putting this dog, in the right hands and the right groomer, the right hands of the right groomer. Let's just say it that way. So, you have to know that your skill level is not that of a beginner. If it is, I would avoid grooming rescue dogs, and confidently, you should avoid them, and you should feel good about that decision. Choosing the wrong tool can cause discomfort or injury or unnecessary stress for the dog, and you would know this if you're very in tune with your grooming tools. You know all the capabilities, you know how to properly use them, you know how to safely use them, you know how to demat without pain, you know how to do all these things. You know how to clip a dog that's matted to the skin without pain. That's important. So some of my final thoughts here, that's where we're at in this lesson today. Grooming rescue dogs isn't just about skill, it's about empathy, it's about being able to adapt, so adaptability, and it's certainly about knowledge. Knowledge of your skill and your profession, and knowledge of the dog that you're working with, because you only have the moments you're with them to assess that dog. So gaining as much knowledge about observing their behavior is so important when you're assessing the groom, when they first come in, when you're spending that meet and greet time with them. Assess the dog. Don't just sit there and pet them. See, how does he act if I pat him down the leg and down the back? Oh, he's good with it. Pet it, learn about the dog. It's very important. Taking the time to build confidence in your handling techniques, understanding dog behavior, and mastering the right tools is going to ensure that when the time comes, you can offer these deserving dogs a safe, positive, and transformational grooming experience. And that's what you want. But never forget what you learn from each rescue dog. Always learn something from working with any rescue dog. You're always going to learn something. And never forget what you learn from each rescue dog. They offer you more than you think. They're teaching you lessons about grooming, about how to work with dogs that are fearful. All these things will come right around to you in every dog that you groom from that day forward. Lessons learned when working with rescue dogs will make you a better groomer and offer many benefits to you and the pets that you groom from here on out. So that's why I told you early in this lesson, I have learned so much from the dogs, the rescue dogs that I have groomed, that has made me a better groomer. They taught me lessons. It was a gift. They gave me a gift, is what they did. And I took it. I appreciate it. And so did the dogs that I worked with from that day forward. Remember, if you're not prepared to make confident grooming decisions and work with a dog that may be unpredictable, it's okay to say no, right? I want you to see me. It's okay to say no. I'm not ready to groom rescue dogs. That's okay to say that. Yet, and feel good knowing that you made that decision. You made that decision for you to continue to build a successful, confident grooming career, and you also didn't put yourself in a position with dogs that puts you or them in jeopardy. It's okay to say, I'm not ready to work with rescue dogs. Doesn't mean you're not a professional. Don't let anybody take that card from you. You're still professional, but you're not ready to work with rescue dogs. And let's face it, if you're the type of person that doesn't have patience for being fought at all the time or resistance, then you may never want to groom rescue dogs. And that's okay. If you do just fine with dogs that respect you and that you've already established that trust, fine. You don't have to groom rescue dogs. So don't worry about it. I'm trying to teach you that it's okay to say I do not groom rescue dogs, and it's also okay to groom rescue dogs and learn, and you will become a much better groomer, because it's almost like, being thrown into a race car. Like, you're going to learn today, right? Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to scare you off. I've had a lot of experience with different very matted, severely dogs that were rescued, dogs that should have been rescued too and weren't, had to go back to the puppy mill or the breeder or whatever the bad situation was. I've had a lot of that where they had to go back. And you can call whatever your local dog warden, our area has a dog warden. It's usually tied in with the Humane Society, but you can make the call, but it's not guaranteed that they're always going to do anything. And I hope that you understand that all you can do is reach out. We can't take the law into our own hands and just say, I'm not giving you the dog back, because now you're breaking the law. You can't do that. So I'm going to get to your questions now. Are you ready? I see I have some questions. Yes. All right. Let's see. Let me go up to the top. How you guys doing tonight? Did you enjoy this lesson? Did you enjoy what we talked about, our topic tonight? I think it's important to talk about it. And rescue dogs, it's very common. Many of you have a dog that in some way or another you've rescued it, whether it was rehoming. It's very common. It's very common for groomers to groom mostly dogs that have a past that they didn't get from a puppy. So, and I guess all those can be considered rescue dogs. But today's topic, I'm talking more about dogs that were highly neglected and then rescued from that situation. And your fosters, your shelters, they will want you to groom the dog. I mean, they're going to want you to do it. It needs done. But, you can stand your ground and say that, I'm sorry, I don't prefer to work with rescue situations at this time. But maybe always have someone in your back pocket that you could refer them to. That's not a bad idea, being prepared. So I kind of took it on right away at first. I wished I wouldn't have, but there's just so much of it around me. I almost had to, but I wouldn't do it now. We've come so far in pet grooming and awareness that I think I would feel confident enough to say I'm not ready to do that, but I'm clearly a professional. I can groom dogs. I'm just not ready to do that. So I see I have a question here from Awaken. says, I trimmed my first little toy poodle. I love poodles, period, all sizes. I was really nervous. The legs and the head I couldn't properly get by myself. She did really great. Well, that's good though. It sounds like it was a success. Just know when you're grooming, every groom, you're going to learn more about how to use these tools. You're going to assess the groom after you do the groom. You're going to say, so what was I doing that I just couldn't get those legs right? And you'll say, well, I have to practice putting my dog on the table when I'm not clipping and holding the leg in positions that are comfortable to the dog and allow me to work better. Practice on the table. Don't let table time, groom time be your practice time. If you're learning, having the ability to practice with your own dog on a grooming table when you're not clipping, on how to hold those legs and how to handle them so they're comfortable and you're comfortable grooming them, that's practice. Just do it. That's going to help you. But it sounds like it was success. I'm so happy to hear that. But don't be hard on yourself if it doesn't look the way you want it to. You'll get there. It's always that way. It takes time. Lois says, Amy, I will always be grateful for all the guidance that you have given me and my mill mama. Squirt, yes. I know, Lois. It's my pleasure. You know it is. She came to me shaved with a 10 blade and terrified. That 10 blade probably didn't even feel good. That's a short clip. So yeah, she was not liking it, I'm sure. She is my beloved heart dog. I love hearing that. I'm glad that you have each other, Lois. I really am. Our pets are so special to us, guys. I can vouch for that on the daily. There's Jean. Jean says, hi, Amy. Thank you for all you do for us. If a dog comes in with severely matted and an abundance of feces stuck to it due to neglect, I've seen that 100 times. I think I even have a video showing a dog that was in that condition. Is it a good idea to call the authorities? Well, what I would do, Jean, sometimes people, I'll give them that one benefit of the doubt groom, right? All right, you couldn't get to the groomer, you've been sick, your car was broke down. I mean, they have a lot of things that can stop them from being able to get the dog in, and I get it. And then before they know it, the dog has feces stuck to its bum, and they're like, no, he has to be, oh my God. So you will have those situations where that happens, and I have many had that. A little bit of feces is common because dogs like your Shih Tzus, your Poodles, your Doodles, once they start to grow about 1/4 inch of hair, they can start to get a little bit of poopy buildup on their butt, and some pet owners aren't comfortable removing that. Like they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm not touching it. I don't know what to do. They don't want to hurt their dog. So what you'll do, Jean, is then you will take care of it in that grooming session, and you'll say to them, oh boy, and this is, we don't want this. This is not good. This dog sleeps in your bed, sits on your couch, sits in the car. You don't want this to get in this condition. So that was an 8-week groom. We've got to bring him back in 6 weeks so we don't have this. If they can't maintain a good schedule and keep bringing him back to you in really bad conditions, severely matted with feces, then you might want to consider having that looked into and calling the authorities. But I'd give them a chance. I always give them a chance. With this little red, they didn't deserve a chance. I don't think the dog was taken from them. I hope he was, but I don't think he was. I really don't. I didn't have a lot of confidence in that. So hopefully that helps you, Jean. Also, what authorities are best to contact, referring to the above question? Okay, yeah, no problem. For us, and you can simply do you can ask Google. Google now has AI. You can ask Google, in my area, who would I call if a dog is neglected? And that could mean somebody has their poor dog chained out to a tree outside and it's 0 degrees. That's neglect too. But you know what I'm saying. So if you're not sure, because different areas have different rules, we have what's called a dog warden. And the dog warden is in close coordination with our Humane Society, and our local Humane Society does have the right to go in and remove a dog. Not all shelters do have that right and that authority. So it all depends on where you live and what the authorities, what rights they have. So for us, it's a dog warden, but you know, it may simply just be police for certain areas, Jean. It just depends. Every area is different. I guess that's what I want you to know. Every area is different. Good question. Kathleen says, so you are charging full groom price if you just shave them, charged and didn't blow dry the dog, and a second appointment because of the time and supplies. Absolutely, Kathleen. As a professional, yeah, this isn't your normal groom. Take a look. This isn't a normal pet trim. If it's getting to be about an hour into the groom and I see, wow, an hour and a half to 2 hours, we're only going to get all this nastiness off of him, and I haven't even bathed him or anything, yeah, I'm calling it good, and I'm going to charge him what I would have charged. You know, I can groom a Shih Tzu in an hour and a half. What do I charge for that? $50? That's what I would charge them. But I always charge more for matting because it's harder work, and let me tell you, it dulls your blades. Your blades are going to dull from all that yucky, grimy coat. So now you got to buy new blades or get them sharpened. It's taxing on you. It's taxing on the dog. You're going to charge for that. Of course you are. And then you're going to charge for the time when they come back to get the dog back to good again. Now we're going to, whether we trim nails, bath, blow dry, and we also allowed extra time for this groom, right? Because we knew we were going to need it. Why wouldn't we want to get paid for that time? Of course you need to be paid for that time. So you charge for it, and you don't feel bad charging for it. Any other service you will ever use in life is going to charge you for it. So why shouldn't dog groomers? You know, plus we're very unique in our skills. Not everybody can do it. So we know our value for sure. Yeah, you charge for it. Then once you get the dog in a good situation, so we've gotten the pelted coat off, we've bathed and brushed and blow dried and trimmed his nails. We've got basically a full groom and 2 grooming sessions. We've accomplished that. Now I'm going to schedule him in 6 weeks, and we're going to work together again. And that next session, I'm probably still going to add some extra time on there for the schedule with that dog to make sure I continue to put that dog on an upward trajectory of accepting grooming and respecting that it's not going to hurt him and that he's building trust with me and all the things. So absolutely, I've said it before, but yes, we charge for all of the appointments. We don't give them away just because it's necessary for the dog. That's how groomers ended up having to force dogs into all this stuff years ago, because groomers were made to feel like they couldn't say, I'm going to need 2 sessions with him. Well, I want to pay you for 1, get it done. Well, okay, then I'm not doing it. How about that for an answer? But, you know, we were kind of forced to do things we didn't want to do. But those days have changed. We know our value. We know our worth. Hi Jenny says, had to shave down poor Sparrow when I got her. 4 months in her coat. 4 months in her coat is coming out. Oh, good. So it's been 4 months. How to make her less choppy. Blending shears, Jenny. So if you're having some variations of coat length, kind of like when you use guard combs sometimes and you see those lines from the guard combs, it's important when you're prepping the dog, bathing, brushing, conditioning, shampooing, and drying, that you get the coat as straight as possible, Jenny, with the drying process. Because if you get the coat straightened out as much as you can, it's going to allow you to get the best, most precise clipper finish or guard comb finish on it. So it's always important for anybody listening here, if you want a nice, pretty finish with your clipper work and your guard comb work, you really want to take your time and work hard to straighten out the coat as much as possible with the drying process. Then that automatically is setting up for a nice, smooth finish. But if you still don't get it, then you're going to use your comb, you're going to lift everything up, and you're not going to touch it then. You're going to pick up your blending shears and you're going to blend the outline of the dog. So you're just blending off any of that choppy look. My shears, Jenny, I think you have my 52 tooth blender. That is a nice smooth blender, and that shear loves to blend away and soften scissor marks or guard comb marks or clipper marks, all of those things. So that would be a really good choice for you. So I hope that works for you. Good. Good to see you too, Jenny. Let me see if there's any more questions. I asked you guys, does it make sense? You said yes, absolutely. Thank you. You guys are the greatest. Absolute greatest. Well, I hope that this information's been helpful to you guys. I'm so excited. A quick announcement. I was supposed to be leaving February 13th to go to Pasadena, California. I know some of you already are aware of this, to the Groom Expo West show. I was so excited. Was going to be at the PetScad booth at some certain times. You guys were going to come and see me. And we were going to be all happy together. But the show has been canceled. So for anybody who doesn't know, I'm hoping that this announcement can let you be aware that that show is not going on this year. It may be rescheduled for July, but that's not set in stone yet. So I don't know. Usually when shows are canceled, it's too hard for them to fit it in with what was already scheduled with convention centers. And usually they just forego it for the year and the show will go on next year. Yeah, they're magic erasers, Jenny. That's exactly what they are. I love it. So I won't be there, unfortunately, but I will keep you posted on any other shows that I will be attending this year, where they're at. I'll try to give you all good notice so that if you do live close in the area, that hopefully you can make it out and, we can do some learning together at the trade shows or walk the booths together, talk products, pick products out, test them, do whatever we want to do. We're the Go Groomer community. We do what we want to do. No, it's great being at shows. We love it. I do love it. So I do know that Pasadena was canceled for a good reason, and you guys all know about the terrible fires. Jenny, I was thinking about you. Jenny lives in California. So obviously for good reason, they're using the convention center as like a safe place for Red Cross to come in and give help to people who've been displaced from the fires. So it's a good reason that it was canceled, but I was looking forward to seeing you guys. So along with that, I was not going to be able to live stream in 2 weeks because I would have been coming home from Pasadena, but I will be able to live stream in 2 weeks because I won't be in Pasadena. So I will see you in 2 weeks live from this grooming table, and we'll talk about another really good dog grooming topic that's going to help you in your dog grooming adventures. So one more thing I want to say to you guys, other than you're fantastic and I love you, and I appreciate you coming here today and listening to me talk, is that I am going to share with you the Farmer's Dog Super Bowl commercial that touched hearts everywhere. Dog lovers were just melting over this commercial. But what I want you to know is that I have partnered a couple years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, with the Farmer's Dog, and I can offer you an 80% discount on the Farmer's Dog. So enjoy thinking that, processing that. This is whole foods, all natural for your dogs. This is what I feed Big Gus, and Ellie Grace and Grace eat it. All the dogs eat it that are in this family. And it is wonderful. If you have a finicky eater, obviously it covers that. But what's more important is what's in the bowl. And what's in the bowl is human grade, all human grade ingredients. Do the research. Go to the website. Check out the Farmer's Dog on the website if you're not sure what it is. But I can offer you 80% off of a 2-week supply. And I would love to do that for you and your pets because I love your pets too. Yes, I do. So check it out. In the meantime, there's a link in the description if you want to check that out. There's some other links in the description, some videos that I linked in the description that you may be interested in watching after watching this one today. So feel free to go down there and surf around. But in the meantime, long live dogs.
I'll always take